to the end.
Hello, what's up guys? Furty here, bringing you a quick video previewing some of the talents for Affliction Warlock in World of Warcraft Legion. Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me to do a quick video on this, specifically my thoughts on what we might be looking forward to in raids, particularly the new ones, you know, Emerald Nightmare. Waiting for that for a long time, huh? I know you guys, you vanilla players, have been waiting for Emerald Dream for ages with bated breath. And also the fantastic Suramar Palace, the Nightwell, cousin to the Sunwell. Should be awesome stuff. Anyways, sit back, relax, pour yourself a glass of wine. Here's a bit of a look into some of the stuff we can expect for Affliction Warlock. P.S. It sucks. Starting off, we have the return of Haunt, classic Affliction Warlock spell. No longer is it a shard consuming ability that buffs your periodic effects. It is now a single target shadow damage nuke. Has a 15-second cooldown. However, if the target dies while Haunt is on cooldown, the cooldown is reset, very similar to a Murder of Crows. You can see this talent being very strong on fights that require very strong priority damage, such as the Doomfires on Archimonde, and where you can often take advantage and exploit the reset mechanic that's baked into this talent. Next up we have Writhen Agony, which allows our Agony to change its maximum stacks from 10 to 20. This synergizes extremely well with some of the later talents, particularly the Soul Effigy, which we'll get into in a little bit, and proves to be extremely promising on high movement and multi-target encounters. However, since Drain Life no longer stacks our Agony quickly, this talent takes an extremely long time to reach its full potential, around 30 to 40 seconds depending on your level of haste. This means this talent can only really excel on bosses that have targets that are alive for an extended duration. The last talent on the level 15 tier is Drain Soul. This is another iconic Warlock spell that is no longer baseline to the class. Drain Soul no longer causes your dots to tick when it ticks. It is now simply a single target shadow damage filler, very similar to the Shadow Priest Mind Flay. Similar to Drain Life, it does heal you every time it ticks, though it heals for a reduced amount compared to Drain Life. Every time a target you are draining is killed, it energizes a Soul Shard. This talent will prove to be extremely promising on encounters with a high number of targets that have short mortality. The next set of talents is primarily focused on increasing your passive damage. For example, Contagion will increase your damage by 5% every time Unstable Affliction is active. This talent kind of looks okay on the surface, but ultimately UA is inactive for the majority of the fight, so it doesn't even really come close to a 5% damage increase. Next we have Absolute Corruption, which makes your corruption damage over time effect permanent. This talent might seem a little hokey on the surface, but it will save you a lot of global cooldowns over the course of a fight, particularly on multi-target encounters. And with Soul Effigy, that's basically every encounter. This talent will be particularly strong on council-style fights and sustained AoE. Lastly, we have Mana Tap, where you can sacrifice 40% of your current mana, emphasis on the current by the way, in exchange for 15% increased damage for 20 seconds. Next are the level 45 talents, primarily focused on defensive utility. For starters, we have Soul Leech, which is not much changed from the current live version. Every time you use a Drain spell, either Drain Life or Drain Soul, a portion of that damage is converted to a shadowy shield. I can see this being used on nearly every raid encounter in Legion. Next we have Mortal Coil, which also functions almost identically to the live version. It's a single target Horrify effect, and upon a successful cast it will heal you for a fixed amount. However, if the target is immune to Horrifies, it will not only immune the cast, but you also won't get the heal effect. Lastly, we have Howl of Terror, which is actually kind of changed from its current version. Now, anytime you drop below 30% health, You'll automatically cast an AoE Fear, which will send everything around you running. Can't see this being really used in PvP, PvE. However, I can see it kind of being a useful escape in, general everyday questing. The level 60 tier is primarily focused on big damage. First off, we have Siphon Life, which is actually not so much big damage. It's kind of a weak dot that you can put on enemy targets. It heals you for 100% of the amount that it deals damage. I can't really see this being used too much if it goes live the way it is now. If the damage is tuned up, it could be quite good on multi-target encounters, particularly ones where you really need incoming healing. Next we have Sow the Seeds, a talent intended to add a little bit of punch to the Affliction Warlock AoE toolkit. Since Soulburn is gone, this is intended to be a replacement for Soulburn Seed of Corruption. Your Seed of Corruption will now cost a shard, and it will also spread Seed of Corruption to 4 additional targets other than your main target, so 5 total seeds. This talent will excel in any situation where several targets are stacked near the main target, as it will add a lot of heft to your single target damage while also packing quite the AoE punch. Lastly, we have Soul Harvest. This is intended to be a DPS cooldown. It's a 2-minute cooldown, a 1.6 second cast, refills all 5 of your soul shards, giving you quite a bit of single target burst. This talent will pretty much be the go-to on all single target encounters, and maybe some of the AoE or council style encounters as well. The level 75 tier is primarily focused on mobility and a little bit of defensive utility. Demonic Circle is now a talent. It's also 1 button instead of 2 now. The first time you press it, it places the Demonic Circle, and the second time you press it, you teleport. That means if you want to place a new Demonic Circle, you either have to click off your buff, or you need to make a cancel or a macro. Since I imagine most of you aren't going to want to be randomly clicking at your buffs in the middle of a fight, that means we pretty much still need 2 binds. Thanks, Blizzard. This talent will be best used on fights where you need to consistently travel back to the same location or need instant teleportation to avoid a fatal mechanic. Next up, we have Burning Rush. This talent remains completely unchanged in Legion. They didn't even do one of those weird renames that they keep doing to all the other talents, calling it like Fell Rush or something. I don't know why this talent escaped some stupid rename, but it did, Blizzard, etc. Lastly, we have Dark Pact, which, unlike Burning Rush, did not escape a stupid rename. This talent is identical to Sacrificial Pact, that is currently on the live version of the game. Functions completely identically, nothing new other than it's now on the same tier as the mobility cooldowns. The Grimoire tier has been moved to level 90. Supremacy still makes your pets moderately stronger, giving them a 20% increase to both health and damage. Grimoire of Service still allows you to temporarily summon a demon of your choice for 25 seconds once every 2 minutes. However, since we no longer have Dark Soul to pair this cooldown with, it's unlikely that this will be very effective. Lastly, we have Grimoire of Sacrifice. This has been changed so that it no longer scales with your damage. It now gives you a chance to proc some shadow damage that splashes at targets within 8 yards of your current target. This is actually pretty neat, as it gives us a Grimoire that has a bit of a niche in cleave and AoE. The last tier of talents is available at level 100. If you're not a fan of the Mage's Prismatic Crystal, you're probably not going to like Soul Effigy. It's essentially a permanent prismatic crystal reflecting 50% of the damage done to the target that it is assigned to. It lasts 10 minutes, meaning that it basically lasts the entire fight. When you cast Soul Effigy, it spawns under your feet and doesn't move, meaning that it synergizes pretty well with Absolute Corruption if you have to go out of range of it for extended periods, and also synergizes pretty well with Writhe and Agony. Soul Effigy will most likely be our single target go-to. Next up we have Phantom Singularity. This spawns a shadowy disc that does damage to all targets within 25 yards and also heals you for 30% of the damage done. This might be something to pair with Sow the Seeds and Grimoire of Sacrifice for heavy burst AoE, a pseudo-cataclysm of sorts. Finally, Demonic Servitude makes its return. It's worth noting that Summon Doomguard is now a 3-minute cooldown, not a 10-minute one, so replacing it is a little bit more of a big deal. This means that this talent will probably be inferior on burst or short duration encounters, no matter how high it's tuned. Whether or not we use this talent will be predicated entirely on the tuning of it. It'll either be tuned to be better than the other talents, or it'll be worse. This concludes my assessment of the talents for Affliction Warlock on the Legion Alpha. Stay tuned for future videos such as an overview of the artifact talents, along with the assessment of the talents of the other specs when they go live. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.